Good morning, y'all. So, like I told you guys, I'm going to start kind of being more vulnerable. I think there's a lot of gifts in someone's individual healing journey that can be shared with the collective. And since I already have the platform to do that, I'm going to share something with you guys. And then we can kind of communicate back and forth. I love that whenever I share things, I do tend to get a lot of messages from everyone. So, one of the things that I've noticed in my grief journey in regards to my mom and what's going on is that I think that I'm doing something where I am like running from the fact that my mother has passed away. I feel like, let me give you guys a backstory. So my mom and I were very close. We came in a pair. Pretty much anyone who knows me or knew her, it was always Cindy and Alex. And for those of you that are on a different platform than Instagram, it keeps stopping because these videos let me record for 1 minute and then I have to start over because I am going to share this on YouTube. So we came as a pair. It was Cindy and Alex everywhere we went. Everybody knew that. Everybody in her business knew that. My mom made a very well-known name for herself in the entertainment industry, especially in the modeling industry and things of that nature. But I went with her everywhere. I was her only child. And so when I grew up and had my own family, we were never that far from each other. The farthest way that we ever lived at one time was just 45 minutes, but I'm not kidding. We saw each other every day because she worked in the same area. If you're from LA, she lived in Thousand Oaks and worked in Woodland Hills, and that's where I was. We worked for the same people. And so we saw each other every single day. So with that being said, when she made the decision to move to Las Vegas, it was like, it shook the floor for all of us. Our foundation was like crumbling. We're like, what do you mean? Because at that point, we lived across the street from each other. I lived on one side of La Cienega and Centinela, and she lived on the other side of La Cienega and Centinela in Los Angeles. And so it was like, we saw each other every day. Okay. And so when we moved here immediately, because she found out she was sick right after she moved here. So in my grieving process, what I'm noticing is I don't think that I have fully latched onto the fact that she's not coming back. This past month, 2 months have been the hardest, even harder than when she passed away. And so I've been reflecting a lot and trying to understand the emotions that I'm having and the thoughts that I'm having. And I'm trying to kind of put everything in order and in back, trying to make sense of everything and put it all in order. And what I've noticed is I couldn't figure out what this one feeling was, okay? And the feeling that the feeling that I have, it resides on the left side of my upper quadrant up here. It's also very heavy in my left ear. It gives me shoulder pain, and it's right here. So if I have any energetic healers, maybe there's some connection here. So the energy that I feel is pretty much from here to here, and I've been really trying to focus on this energy and understand. I know that it's connected to the grief of my mom. And the farthest that I've gotten with this energy and understanding it is that I have this subconscious belief that my mom is on vacation and she's coming back soon. And I'm not just saying I'm trying to convince myself and not deal with the grief. It's a legitimate feeling that I've addressed that is creating a block. It's creating a heaviness. Sir, you get to go because I get to go. Sorry. It's creating a block and a heaviness. And I feel like it has a lot to do with what prevents me from pushing forward in certain areas of my life or from overcoming. Maybe not just grief, but overcoming other things, right? Because there's other emotions. My mom and I relationship was not perfect. Once she found out she was sick, and up until the day that she passed away, it was not it wasn't the same. I was my mom's best friend. She was my everything. But once she got sick and realized she was dying, I became the enemy. And she was very, very hurtful, extremely rude and disrespectful to me, in a way that I've never experienced. And so on top of that, I've been having to process that because it was pretty horrible. And she said some really awful, awful things to me before she passed away that I was also, I mean, I'm pretty wise. I don't think like 98% of this world thinks, and I know that for a fact. I think very, very differently. Anything that somebody does, I am able to instantly connect it with an emotion, a pain, a trauma. I can see through people. It's a blessing and a curse. And so I was able to see and understand, like, okay, I know why she's talking to me like this. And so I kept it very humble, very calm, and I just let her say whatever. And I still stood there and cared for her and gave her top-notch care. A nurse couldn't have done better than me, and I know that for a fact. I went above and beyond, and I enjoyed it. I loved it. So, but in that, when she died, I had to deal with those things, and I had to question those things that were said to me. So in a way, I'm kind of excited to come into this and really figure out what this is where I can feel the heaviness, because I think there's a connection between, I mean, it's very deep, but I'm almost certain that this is a connection between the unprocessed trauma and emotions of what I had to experience while she was dying and the way that she was talking to me and treating me. But then also there's a disconnect between the belief that she's gone. And I can't figure out if it's a healthy disconnect or an unhealthy disconnect. So again, if there's any energy healers on here, anyone who's been through this process, I am for sure looking for your advice. I'd love for this to turn into like a little round table, and you can DM me. But so here's my thought process. Obviously, I know that energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. So I do know for a fact that my mother is not. So I know my mother is not truly gone. I also know what I experienced and what I physically witnessed and saw happening to her in the days leading up to her death. For those of you that don't know, the day that I had to call the ambulance and send her to the hospital, it started out like a normal day. I would go in the morning. She would put her arms around my neck. I would lift her up. I would pull the walker in between us, stand her up, and help her to the restroom, where I would, do all of her bathroom stuff that needed to be done to make her feel good. And then we would shuffle back to the bed. On this day, she couldn't get up. And so as I was laying her back down, her head was under my hand. She still had her arms and my hand was under her back, and I was laying her back down. A purple diamond popped out from the center of her forehead and began slowly inching across her forehead until it made it here. It climbed to the top, like where my ponytail is, and it went into her head. And she felt it. She was like, "What's crawling on me?" And I couldn't say anything. I was just kind of like watching it all happen. And then after it went into her head, I explained to her what happened. And we both knew what that meant without knowing what it meant. Like, we'd never experienced that before, but instantly I know that your crown chakra is purple. And so instantly what I thought was, it's a spiritual circumcision. They're opening you up so that your spirit can be released. And I knew she was about to die. I think that is where this subconscious blockage is coming from, in terms of, it's like a vacation. Like, she just went on vacation and I'm going to see her again. But the problem with that is, how do I transmute that to down here, to this toxic, heavy, third dimensional energy? Because I'm not in the third dimension. You guys think I am, but I'm definitely residing in a higher dimension and perception of reality and understanding. Now that I'm talking, my shoulder is like literally starting to hurt. So yeah, I guess I'm just like vibing out. For those of you that are on this spiritual journey, listen to what I'm going through. Maybe you'll gain some insight. For any spiritual healers, I know I got a lot of you energetic healers, energy healers here on this page. Tap in and I'd love to hear your input. I do think there's a connection between my higher wisdom and knowing that we don't actually die, right? The energy cannot be destroyed, that it can just be transferred. So there is this knowing that she's still here. And I do get messages and I do see her sometimes, but you have to understand that I'm still spirit in a human body that has to learn how to bring this together to be at peace with it. And so I'm looking for any exercises or any tips from you guys to help me transmute this energy. So I appreciate anyone who does tap in or have comments or anything like that. I think that it's something that is doable, and I can easily transmute and transform. I just need to get a basis on how. There's something about it must be my ego. There's something about my human self that doesn't want to fully embrace the knowing that she's not gone. Like, I feel like there's a human aspect of me that wants to be angry about it and wants to live in the grief and the despair. But I also am wise enough to know that that's all an illusion and that that's not even real. Like, this place isn't real. This is temporary. Like, it's not real. We're not going to be here forever. Where we're going, we will be. So but it's like I know this, but for some reason, this energy here won't let it fully integrate with my being. So I can get this chip off my shoulder. That's what it is. Help me get this chip off my shoulder.